It's raining subpoenas. The breakdown starts now. Good evening and welcome to The Breakdown. I'm Tara Setmayer and the Rick Wilson is back. He is back live and in person with us. Rick, it's good to see you sitting there in the chair.
Well, thank you, Tara. I was out last week on a couple of missions, and of course, the week before I was off getting my daughter married.
That's right.
So
You've been
I'm
a
glad to
busy
be back
guy.
on LPTV. Glad to be back with the squad here as usual, and let's see if we can cause a little bit of trouble tonight.
As always, different kind of squad. We have our LP
yes, our squad,
not that squad.
Totally different squad.
We're actually team players here. So before we get into all of that, because there's a lot of headlines, there's a lot going on, lots of news. Let's bring everyone together around our last week in the Republican Party. Take a look.
Yes.
They are ruining our country. These vaccine Nazis.
Should kindergarten be a federal right? No.
InfoWars can always be counted on for the truth.
I'm not vaccinated and I'm not getting the vaccine because I'm an American. I can choose what I want to do with my body.
I think that the Texas abortion law is fantastic.
It's the most important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia.
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much.
I've never figured out what a critical race theory is, to be totally honest.
Just because parents are exercising their First Amendment rights to speak out against critical race theory or even vaccine mandates does not make them domestic terrorists. And if we allow the Biden administration to continue this, God forbid, you're going to end up with mom and pop at Gitmo. Think about how outrageous that is, Harris, to think about.
That is outrageous. Could that really happen?
I beg your pardon. I swallowed wrong.
Well,
and they think racism fueled the vote in Virginia, Laura. Why reach for conspiracy theories when the story's right in front of your face, rambling and coughing all over the place, trying to get your attention?
If you're going to have anyone above a certain age in a position of power, you should have some sort of cognitive test. Just like you have to show your tax returns.
Also, I again found what appeared to be pubic hairs in the chili mac. Far from the first time this has happened.
John Kerry has a private jet. I don't know about you, but I don't have a private jet. I don't believe any of the people on this stage have their own private jet.
Portman does. Yeah.
When you look at the Brandon administration in terms of what they're
doing. Let's go, Brandon!
All items are cooked and followed by recipe cards. No other items are added to the meals.
Oh my God. I can't unsee that insane freaking Ben Shapiro. Like, dude, are you that heads up? And
Ben Shapiro and the gun show are things that are never, ever connected in anyone's mind, ever.
These people are insane. We heard parents going to Gitmo, pubic hairs and food. Like, these people are literally insane.
Well, to be honest, Tara, as a member of the deep state, I do have a Gitmo list. Sadly, the Illuminati aren't letting me ship people off there quite yet.
But I thought you were on the Gitmo list.
I was told during the peak of the QAnon era that I was going to Gitmo any day, that I was going to be arrested, that there were 60,000 sealed indictments and 58,000 of them related to me personally, and that the deep state would be punished, etc. But somehow I still walk free.
Yes. Well, if you ever end up there, let us know. Send us a postcard and tell us if there's any parents down there that, sit up at school board meetings. The absurdity of all of this, I mean, we laugh to stop ourselves from crying. I say that all the time. But the sad part about this is that this is who the Republican Party is. We've been hearing over the last couple of days, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but we've been hearing over the last couple of days since the election last week how there's some new Republican Party happening, and that they're moving forward, and we're not going to look back. And yeah, good luck with that. These are the freaking people that are on air every day, and these are your folks. No matter how much you want to disown them, these are your folks.
This I think this is the greatest conceit, right, Tara? This is the Washington establishment of Republicans who played that game. In 16, they were like, absolutely not. And then by the end of 16, they were like, well, he'll be okay. Then by 17, they were like, we can make him better. And then by the end of it, they were like, hell yeah, Viva Revolution, storm the Capitol. Folks, this little blip, this little lacuna you had with Glenn Youngkin, this moment where a lot of National Review style, proper conservatives could write pieces that said, finally, we see a path out of the harshness of Trumpism. Oh, horseshit. Primary season is coming. He is still the number one factor in Republican politics by an order of magnitude. You saw that ad today with Blake Masters out in Arizona, where the guy's walking down the road, basically going through the whole big lie theory and this lurid set of conspiracy theories, all to win a Republican primary. Folks, the crazy's still here. The calls are coming from inside the House, and they're not going to end.
You weren't here when we had the one of the last week in Republican parties where I talked about Tits McGee out there in Nevada. Yeah, I mean, these people that are running for the Republican primary, that's why Glenn Youngkin was able to establish himself as someone who was normal, because he didn't have to run a primary. Pay attention to the types of people who are running in Republican primaries. You think that they're the Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger type Republicans?
Please.
No, they're not. They're considered the Adam Kinzingers, and the Liz Cheneys are considered the apostates. And when you have Ron DeSantis, who is a Trump clone, he's so far up Trump's ass. He's got the same mannerisms now. I mean, it's like he's like a puppet on the hand up the ventriloquist ass. It's insane. And yet Roger Stone said that he would primary Ron DeSantis. He hasn't gone far enough. Like, there's never enough for the crazy here. And as much as I, would love to see the Republican Party right the ship and course correct, which was what my hope was last year, we know that that's not going to happen.
No, we're past it.
We're way past it. I mean, Trump was down at the annual NRCC dinner, which is always this time of year. It's always in the fall. For years, it used to be at the National Building Museum. I used to love to go.
Right. It was a great, it's such
a nice venue.
If you ever go to Washington, folks, it's off the beaten path a little bit near Union Station, but the National Building Museum is an absolutely gorgeous piece of late 19th century American architecture.
And they have amazing exhibits in there all the time about different types of architecture, different time periods. It's great, but it's big, beautiful. It's a big, tall,
the interior space is glorious.
Columns, it's beautiful. Anyway, so usually that's where it is, and I've been to many. And this time, though, they moved it to Florida, and it was in Tampa. And guess who was the keynote? It was the former guy, the twice impeached former guy blogger in Mar-a-Lago. And he was up there bragging about how Glenn Youngkin wouldn't have won if it hadn't been for him. We all know that's not true, right? We all know that is the upside down world that Trump lives in, but that's also the same world that room of hundreds of Republican operatives, donors, members of Congress, elected officials, they're all sitting there. The NRC is the National Republican Congressional Campaign Committee. That is the arm of the Republican Party that raises money to get members of Congress elected, okay? Donald Trump was there giving the keynote speech, taking credit for a race he had nothing to do with. So Liz Cheney, who gave a speech today in New Hampshire, going after Donald Trump, rightfully, she's right about all of this, saying that the party is being held hostage to this guy. But she needed to give that speech to the NRCC dinner. Okay, those are the people she.
I got.
She's not allowed in there.
I got a sense that she may be off Brother Emmer's invite list for just about anything.
Got lost in the mail,
except a blanket party. I want to say two things about excuse me. First, about Roger Stone, to loop back on that for a second, which relates tangentially to a congressional committee problem. They're going to be funding people like Laura Loomer, who is going to win her Republican win support from a lot of these Trumpers in a Republican primary against a Republican in Florida named Danny Webster, who she considers insufficiently conservative. But they're going to be funding the crazy.
For people who don't know her. Not everybody knows who she is. And
Laura Loomer is a former Twitter personality who is, to put it mildly, as on a family program, crazier than a shithouse rat in a dumpster full of tacos. I mean, the woman is batshit nutso. And she chained herself to Twitter one time with a bike padlock or something, but she only chained herself to one door, so people kept coming in and out of the building.
But isn't she like also like a total Islamophobe? And
a complete like fanatic.
Yeah, you know. And she ran for Congress before.
She ran for Congress before down in South Florida in Palm Beach. Now she's moved up there. But the reason this all comes together in a particular slurry of cray is that Roger Stone announced today, I think on Gab or Parler, whatever the fuck other platform he's on, aliendeathhead.com, that he was willing to bank his semen to help Laura Loomer produce a master race of MAGAs after his passing.
Oh
so if you don't get, I'm sorry for that nightmare fuel, everybody, but here you are.
Just when I thought it couldn't get worse than Ben Shapiro trying to be masculine, you go ahead with a sperm bank of.
And one more great piece of the equation. The guy who ran QAnon, the bullshit artist named Ron Watkins, who is the source of QAnon, is now running for Congress in Arizona as a Republican. So welcome to the party.
Right.
It's definitely the party of Ronald Reagan and Mitt Romney and everybody else.
And Glenn Youngkin, apparently.
And George Bush and Glenn. Yeah.
the new Republican Party. I mean, this is when I saw all this and I saw the revisionist history. I mean, even over the weekend, there was the Republican Jewish Coalition conference out there in Vegas. And that used to be the Sheldon Adelson, big moneyed and big time donors and powerful influencers in the Republican base. They were out there. Chris Christie was out there saying, listen, just look, guys, move forward. Don't look backward. Move forward. Look at what we just did on Tuesday. And good luck with that. If the Republicans listen to this, then Democrats are in trouble already. But if Republicans actually did this, Democrats would really be in trouble. Like, I'm scared at how successful they would be if they actually listen to this. But this strategy is never going to happen. Trump is never going to shut the fuck up and just go to the side. He can't.
And
help
a lot
himself.
of our Democratic friends have had a tendency to follow the media lead. Because look, you and I both know this. Washington is a herd town, and the herd ran one direction Tuesday night, and they were like, "It's over! It's over!" Well, look. One of the wisest people I know on election night of 2020, when it started to have that early red wave, we knew it would flip over. I was in a room full of people. This looks at me and goes, "Calm the fuck down, everybody! Everybody in this room, calm the fuck down." Because that idea that you take one data point and extrapolate out and you go crazy on it is something that I've always counseled people. You can go back in my tweets about off-year elections for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, left or right, Republican or Democrat, unless you see a year like 1994 or 2010, the off-year election does not have the level of consequence that you think it does. But in Washington, it's a herd town. It's a town that they all run in the same direction. Oh my God, there's an alligator in the watering hole. Run the other way. And so, the conventional wisdom was both instantaneous and pervasive, but you can't replicate Glenn Youngkin at scale. They're not all going to be self-funders. They're not all going to be in states where you could buy the primary. They're not all going to be in situations where they're able to paper over any problem by throwing another $1 million of their own checkbook at it. So,
and they're not always going to be in the position that Glenn Youngkin was in, where they can stiff arm Donald Trump and get away with it. Glenn Youngkin got away with it because it was clear that someone told Trump. Like, I can only imagine. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall during those conversations.
Susie Wiles and Jason Miller were probably in there with duct tape and tranquilizer
I was just gonna say he had to be like duct taped in a hostage somewhere, as a hostage to keep him quiet, not from coming here, because he was on his way to Virginia. And if Trump would have come here and injected himself, Glenn Youngkin would have lost. Now, the lesson, as we've said, for the Democrats, I hope that they learn the right lessons. We're still waiting to see that. There's a lot of time between now and then. And we're literally, folks, 364 days away from the next election. 364.
Mother of God.
I know. That's what I said when our producer told us. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But we are, and it'll be here before we know it, and a lot can happen between now and then. So I want to say this, something else that can happen between now and then. We got January 6th. And there's stuff happening here. there's stuff happening January 6th.
Starting to pick up the pace a little bit. They're almost at the pace I would have been at 8 weeks ago, but I'll take what I can get.
We'll take it, right? There were subpoenas issued yesterday, more issued today, some names that we recognize, some that are less popular, but I'd like to pick out some of my favorites there, Rick. We've got Michael Flynn. We've got John Eastman, Bernie Kerik, Stephen Miller,
Katie Makalaki,
and Kaylee Mendacity, my favorite.
And of course, the beach ball that has been rolled in super glue and pubic hair, Jason Miller.
Oh God, is that who Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about in that clip? Yeah, let's keep lock up the strip club doors. So yeah, and there's a bunch of others on here too. And the thing about this is it seems that they're really going for now the inner circle of the people who were there throughout this whole debacle with Trump on January 6th. This is what I wonder though, Rick. It's been how long? And Steve Bannon still is not indicted. The Justice Department hasn't done shit for Steve Bannon yet. What makes them think that any of these people are going to actually cooperate if there's no consequences for Steve Bannon?
As someone on our YouTube chat just said, why is Steve Bannon still walking around as a free monster?
Right.
And it's a great point. And a lot of people have been trying the last few days to say, oh, you got to let the process go and play out. You've got to be patient. Guys, I threw a shit fit about a month ago, and I was told, oh, everything's going to get, it's all going to be, we're going to take them immediately. Well, I was happy that they listened. I don't care if they were pissed at me. They at least listened, and they started to step it up. But I'm going to tell you, you've got a whole group of these people now. A lot of them are going to be under joint defense agreements and all this other interlocking bullshit. You have to break, and I'm speaking to you, Mr. Garland, Mr. Attorney General, you have to break one of these people. Bannon is the easiest nut to crack in a lot of ways. He'll be a tough guy, but let me tell you something. When he thought he was going to go to prison, he was not a happy person. And he is one of the ringleaders. I think the Justice Department should be operating, frankly, their own investigation of this at a scale that obviously is not occurring right now. But what do I know? It's just a group of conspirators who tried to overthrow the U.S. government. I mean, if their names were Islamic last names,
you took the words right out of my mouth.
They'd be drone striked already.
That's right.
They'd be snatched and grabbed already. So
yeah, and they'd be down there in Gitmo with you and the parents. Look. This is one of those things where if there are no consequences, they will only get worse. And all of these people have zero incentive to cooperate. None. You really think Kaylee McEnany and Stephen Miller and Jason Miller are going to, willingly show up to Capitol Hill and give testimony about what actually happened that day? No.
Well, if you just hold Stephen Miller in a room and don't give him any flies for like 24 hours, he'll talk. I mean, you got to keep that metabolism going.
Yeah, or he'll turn into one. He won't be able to keep his form anymore. Did you see the CNN documentary that Jake Tapper just did?
I did not see that actually. I mean, it's on my my
when
list.
you get a chance, you need to watch it. I watched it last night, and apparently so did Donald Trump, because he went off in one of his stupid statements today, going on and on about how this was fake news. And our communications director here at the Lincoln Project, Ryan Wiggins, she decided to take the editor's pen and go through. I don't know if we tweeted that out. We were talking about it.
I think we did. It was in one of the chats today. Yeah.
Oh my God. To make all of the actual grammar corrections. It's so insane. Like, it's ridiculous that he sends these out, or whoever he's dictating it to decides not to at least put proper grammar. But the point is, back to that NRCC dinner, and the Republicans thinking somehow that they're going to move forward. Donald Trump went on and on about how the insurrection actually happened on November 3rd. That was the insurrection, and the protest was January 6th. He said this at the NRCC dinner as well. And
of course,
I don't know what the reaction in the room was. I would presume there was an applause. But these people are not shying away from this. They are trying to rewrite history and wear it with a badge of valor. And that's what you're going to see cascading. I mean, look at what's happening in New Jersey, Rick. Chitterelli lost by the same amount that Terry McAuliffe lost in Virginia, he's refusing to concede.
Of course.
Refusing.
Of course,
because that's the playbook.
That they're going to scream, they're going to yell, they're going to say it was stolen. You know, New Jersey, that noted parallel to Alabama in its Republican voting pattern. And look, I don't excuse Democrats' campaigns being lazy or off message or not doing the work, because, you know, I guarantee you Phil Murphy never woke up a single day in that campaign and thought, I better run like I'm 20 points back.
No.
Every day he woke up and thought, I'm going to be governor again. No big deal. You can't ever do that. I know for a
fact that was the case. My parents still live in Jersey. I go home all the time. And, you know, up until a couple days before the election, Monmouth still had him up by almost double digits.
Right.
And the head of Monmouth polling in New Jersey actually wrote an apology op-ed saying, I'm so sorry I got it so wrong.
And Monmouth is usually a good, reliable
one of the
poll
better
in
ones.
Jersey.
That's
in Jersey, it's one of the benchmarks. Absolutely.
That's right. So, I mean, but again, it goes back to what we've been talking about, the theme here, that these Republicans, the Republican Party is not going to all of a sudden turn back into the party of George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan. That's not happening. And someone like Chitterelli, who was not a big Trump acolyte, to be honest, but he was, you know, going back and forth, kind of trying to walk that line also. But this guy is deciding not to concede, where it was clearly there was not an issue there. What the hell do you think Republicans are going to do across the country where they really are at a more Trumpy place, and they're putting these people in power under the noses of their constituents? They're putting in these election officials and they're changing the rules. What the hell do you think is going to happen then? This is what our democracy is, what's on the line. I know a lot of people don't want to keep hearing about this. No one cares about democracy. They don't care about January 6th and all this esoteric stuff. They care about kitchen table issues. None of that shit matters if the democracy falls. None of that matters if we don't have free and fair elections.
Right. And look, the Republicans are organized. They're funded. They've got, you know, the handful of us who are former Republicans working at the Lincoln Project to sort of be a firewall against this wholesale collapse of our small d democratic institutions.
Right.
You know, there are 250 really smart Republican operatives and consultants who were on the ground in Virginia working for Youngkin. And I heard today,
they ran a great campaign.
They did. They ran a great campaign. Can't deny it.
Yeah.
And I will say this also, you know, I heard today, and I haven't run it down yet for sure, I heard Chitterelli was represented by Jason Miller's old political consulting firm.
Okay.
So they may have been trying, which is based in Jersey.
That's right.
So they may have been trying to you know, play a hometown card. But, you know, if you want to get Trump to support you and you want to have a future with the MAGAs, of course you're going to say the craziest things you can. You're going to say everything is stolen. Every vote that isn't a Trump vote or a Trump acolyte vote is an invalid vote. It's a fake election. They want to diminish the confidence in elections as we go forward. And the people that are doing it on the consulting class, they know better.
Well, of course.
They, however, like their, you know, multi-million-dollar homes in McLean, Virginia, and their other multi-million-dollar homes down at the beach. And so, you know, they're going to play ball.
Yeah.
Now
they're going to keep cashing those checks, right?
No,
they're going to play these people for the rubes that they are and keep cashing those checks, like the same people who thought Herman Cain could run for president, or the same people who backed Ben Carson and, you know, Bobby Jindal and people like that. They knew none of those people had a chance to be president, but they were, you know, oh no, you can do it.
You're the one. It's going to be you're the one this time. You know,
they're grifters. You want to know?
Well, and we are going to see, folks. The other reason that this Republican Party won't change is that Trump's going to be in the race pretty soon. He's getting real close now.
Yeah,
he's easing up on it.
Bit. Because they're trying to make him irrelevant.
Right.
He's trying to slither out.
Yeah, he's trying to slither up in time so that this war and we've helped foster this war, folks, for a year. And a lot of it you see, some of it you don't. We've been poking a stick between McConnell and Trump all the time, every day, poking a stick between them, telling Donald Mitch hates him because it works.
And it's true.
Mitch knows very well how Donald feels about him, and he's running on this razor's edge. He's, you know,
Donald tells him how he feels about him. He just sent another thing about how stupid McConnell is because he voted for the infrastructure bill and let Republicans, support it, and how dumb he was. It's just sour grapes because Trump couldn't get it done because infrastructure became a political
the great builder who only I can fix it.
Right.
Do we have that new ad?
Yes, we're going to play it at the end of the show. That was my fault. I should have previewed it, but we can play it now. Why don't we
play it now, folks?
Yeah, we've got a new ad,
Here's
folks.
a preview for a new ad for the president.
Yes, here's a sneak peek.
We are going to fix our inner cities and rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure.
For 4 years, Donald Trump promised us Infrastructure Week.
$1 trillion in infrastructure investment. World-class infrastructure.
Infrastructure Week.
Infrastructure. We call it Infrastructure Week.
The so-called builder said only he could deliver on new roads, bridges, and airports.
I alone can fix it.
But who got the job done?
Finally, Infrastructure Week.
Joe Biden. Action, not talk. Results, not tweets. Millions of new jobs, billions for the economies Donald Trump wrecked. Serving America instead of serving himself. Joe Biden, building back better.
That's a great ad. I'm glad you guys decided to do that because, poor Joe. Uncle Joe's been getting beat up a lot lately, and not all of it is his fault. The party, his caucus has been, intransigent on some things. The left has, and I was on News Nation and on MSNBC the last couple of days explaining to these neophytes out there that the OGs, the political OGs up there on Capitol Hill, like Clyburn, Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Joe Biden understand how to get shit done. Right. And he did get something done. And this is something that will benefit millions of Americans across the aisle. This should not be about partisan squabbles and owning the libs, because the same people that they represent, that a lot of these people represent, will benefit from this. So this was actually a good piece of legislation, and Joe Biden should get the credit for actually bringing it across the finish line.
And to give the Democrats a little tough love, steal this ad. Take the fucking ad. Take our logo off the back and run the shit out of this ad in swing suburbs. It will help you. It will help you. Mm-hmm. Start doing this in the places where, among the demographic profile of Republicans who voted for Biden in 2016 or 2020 and then flipped over to Glenn Youngkin, go run the digital data file on it and find these places across the country and bang an ad like this into it. People want to hear that you're succeeding. They want to hear that you're working. They want to hear that you're not swampy and sunk down into the mess of bullshit Washington of what about this line item in the bill or that line item. No one will care in the end what the number is. They will care that they got something moving. And when as the economy improves, Biden will be seen to have catalyzed that if you use framing like that you just saw. So take the ad, strip the back off of it, run with it. I think you have to pay us for the stock footage, but fuck it. I'll pay me $1. Yeah. Pay me $1.
I hope they listen. I really do, because it's about storytelling. And that's what makes so much of the Lincoln Project content powerful, because you're telling a story that's relatable in ways that the average person understands. You will hear me say this repeatedly as we continue down this road into midterms and watch the way Democrats are campaigning. You cannot bring a policy pen to a political gunfight. No, okay? That's not how you win. Ads like that, that's how you win. You have to meet people where they are and keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And it shows the contrast.
Yes.
Because the contrast in 22 will be, are you going to be with Donald Trump's version of America, or are you going to be with a version of America that you may not agree with on every point, but it's not dark.
That's
and it's not going to plunge us into authoritarian statism and craziness. And it's going to be the challenge in 24 as well. So the Biden folks should be framing everything around a set of accomplishments, whether they're modest or not, doesn't matter. Look, George Bush ran on a tax cut that was frankly like pennies on the dollar compared to what happened under Trump.
That's right.
And it was a successful message.
And so was compassionate conservatism.
It was
a
weird.
Successful message. So was running on, education reform and school choice to get kids out of failing schools, getting, tackling the soft bigotry of low expectations. Those were things that animate people. It motivates them to do something. Yes, you do have the anger and the fear factors that Republicans, as we see and know, use very well. But you can counter that. You counterpunch that with saying, you want that kind of crazy? You want the let's go Brandon, immature Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about pubes and whatever the hell else they're doing out there with these Nazi fetishes between her and Cawthorn and this Gosar. Please tell me you saw that. Paul Gosar and that anime nonsense.
He's
like
a wise political philosopher once told America in 2016 or 2015 that many of the alt-right supporters of Donald Trump were too busy masturbating to anime in their mother's basements to pose a threat. I did not see coming a 50-something Paul Gosar doing anime, like fantasy ritual murder of AOC.
And Biden.
I missed that.
Yeah, but look, that wasn't on the bingo card.
No. Part of this stuff that's crazy on this, I think. And I really do find it, look, that's more deliberate trolling. It's like the "Let's Go Brandon" thing is deliberate trolling. And by the way, I just want to say a quick story, and I know we're getting short on time.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
Oh, sorry. So tonight before the show, I went out and grabbed some dinner. I was waiting in line and picking something up, and I got the second time in a week a woman looks at me and goes, "Let's go Brandon," because I'm a recognizable asshole. It's a small town.
It's the hair.
And I looked at her and I said, "What? Let's go Brandon." I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I literally pretended I had no knowledge of what she was talking about. I acted like I was living in a cave, and it flustered the shit out of her. She's on her phone like,
right. It's like, it doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. That's not in our cult programming for the week.
She's like, they're waiting for you to be offended. They're waiting for you to be pissed off. But Gosar,
don't give them the oxygen.
Gosar, and we've talked to Gosar's family before on the show. He's a fucked up dude.
Yeah, he is.
He needs to be that guy. And I said it on Twitter. People are like, "What do you mean?" He needs help. That guy is fucked up. He has got something, as to quote the seminal French art film, The Water Boy. Something's wrong with that boy's medulla oblongata.
Yes. And and the thing about it's a great movie, by the way.
It is a great damn movie.
It's a classic. The thing about this, and this is what I'm going to end on, this is back to the same theme of this entire show. Paul Gosar is more representative of the current state of the Republican Party than Liz Cheney is. Because guess who they're talking about kicking off their committees and punishing them? It's not Paul Gosar. It's the 13 Republicans, not Liz Cheney, she actually did vote against it, but the 13 Republicans like Adam Kinzinger and Fred Upton and all, others who did the right thing and voted bipartisan for the infrastructure bill. They're the ones that are being talked about, kicked off committees and punished. Not Paul Gosar. What the fuck are you doing, Kevin McCarthy? That you, as the minority leader, you think you're going to be speaker one day? This is how you handle that? People got kicked off for committees for way less things than what Gosar. Marjorie Taylor Greene's already kicked off committees. That's why she runs around and just trolls people all day, because she has nothing else better to do. Boebert and all of these other ones who were co-conspirators for January 6th, why aren't they the ones who are being talked about being kicked off committees? That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know, folks.
That's the real party, not the one they want you to see on TV.
That's the real party. That's right. Well, on that note, we will continue to call out these people. We will continue to follow January 6th. I encourage everybody to watch that CNN documentary. It's excellent. And I mentioned the Washington Post breakdown that they did about a week and a half ago before the election, which is extraordinary as well. I suggest people go back and take a look at that too. It's just infuriating. We cannot let January 6th go unanswered.
Absolutely.
So keep up the pressure, January 6th committee. We like the gumption. Just don't let your foot up off the gas. All right. On that note, Have a great evening. Be sure to check out our sister show. We're speaking tomorrow at 7 p.m. live, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Tara. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Hi, I'm Ryan Wiggins at the Lincoln Project, and there's a lot going on we need to talk about. Trump's been hinting at a 2024 presidential run using the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen from him, and it's working. New polls show fewer Republicans are willing to hold the January 6th rioters criminally responsible. Meanwhile, GOP-controlled states are leading voter suppression campaigns nationwide. The Lincoln Project is working to neuter the current GOP-controlled government to ensure that future elections are fair and democratic, and to put power back in the hands of the people where it belongs. But we can't do it without you. Go to lincolnproject.us/donate to join in our long-term fight for democracy. We're honored to have you with us, and we're not letting up.